If you're managing your own Docker image registry as part of a CI pipeline, constantly building and deploying can take up a ton of disk space. For instance, I have a home server that's running microk8s or microk8s. I'm not sure which way to pronounce it, doesn't really matter, but I use it as part of my CI pipelines to deploy software directly to those instances automatically using GitHub Actions or Azure DevOps. And I want to reclaim that unused disk space on a regular basis by clearing out unused images. So today I'm going to walk through a bash script that I wrote that does exactly that. I'll show you how to hook that up to a cron job so this way it runs automatically. And then I'm going to show you how I monitor that cron job using Cronitor, today's video sponsor, more on them later, to automatically notify me when something happens to the cron job where it doesn't actually execute. As a fair warning, if you want to do something like this in a production environment, make sure you do your due diligence and test this yourself to make sure it doesn't have any kind of unused side effects. For me, it's on my home server, so if something does go sideways, I can pretty easily recover. It's not actually affecting anything production quality, but you want to make sure to test this thing out before you actually deploy it to production. But with that, let's go ahead and hop into the video and get started. So I'm logged into my Kubernetes server using SSH, and this is open inside of a warp window on a Mac, but you could SSH into the server any way you want to. If you're using just a standard terminal or even on Windows, you could use something like PuTTY, but in any case, we're logged into the server. Now, I'm going to paste a quick snippet of code here, which essentially is going to check to see what repositories are enabled on this specific registry. So this is all of the repositories that contain images inside of my Docker image registry. So next, I'm going to take a look at this script. So I'm going to nano registry cleanup, which is the name of the script here, and we're going to kind of step through this thing section by section. So the first thing I want to call out is this registry URL. As part of microk8s, the registry URL is set to localhost 32,000 by default. So that's why we're setting this variable here. Next up, we're going to get the images that are in use. This is going to check all the pods to see what images they're actively using, and then that's going to be spit out into an array of strings. Next up, I have this get registry images function, which essentially does the thing that I just showed you as far as running the script manually, where it's going to pull in all of the registries. Those two functions are both going to be called and casted to variables. And then we're going to basically compare the entries from each of those, from the output of each of those functions. And we're going to create another list here of any images that are currently not being used. Next up, I have a couple of other functions defined here that are going to be used as part of the main portion of the script, which it goes through and clears out and deletes them. The first one is to get the tag. So if I have any images with more than just the latest tag, which spoiler alert for my setup, I don't, we're going to be able to pull those there. Next up, we're going to get the digest for the specific image that's stored inside of the registry. This is important because the digest is a string value that is used as part of the delete function in order to properly delete the image from the registry. And then next up, I have another function here which says is just delete tagged images, and these are both essentially used in this nested loop down here. So we're going to loop through the list of unused images to get all of the tags, and then we're going to loop through each one of those tags to pull the digest, and then we're going to actually call the delete tagged image function to delete the images that are inside of the registry. And then finally, we're going to echo out cleanup complete just so we know that it's actually done here. So I'm going to go ahead and exit out of here, and let's go ahead and run this. I'm going to type in /registry cleanup. We'll go ahead and hit enter and let this thing work its magic. Okay, so you can see I have a lot of output here, but the key thing to note is each one of these echo out a 202 accepted, which essentially means it was processed successfully. Okay, so now that this is done, what I really want to do is I want this to run on an automated basis because I'm constantly pushing new things into my whole Kubernetes configuration as part of testing and playing around with new software and frameworks and whatnot. So we're going to go ahead and register this script as a cron job. So I'm going to type in cron tab E and hit enter. And then I'm just going to go ahead and pick one to use Nano as far as the editor. And then we're going to go ahead and create a cron script here. So I'm going to have this thing run at midnight every single day. So I'm going to type in 0 for the minute, hour, and then every single day of week, month, and month of the year. So we want it to run at midnight every single day. And then the specific path to the script is home/nixadmin, which is the name of the user here. Scripts is a directory I have there. And then registry cleanup is the script itself, and I'll go ahead and hit enter. Sorry, go ahead and save that. So then our list of cron jobs has been updated to include that one. Now this script is going to run every single night, but I also want to make sure I'm notified in case it doesn't run. And that's where today's sponsor comes into play, and that is Cronitor. So I have the Cronitor website pulled up here, and what Cronitor is really good at doing is essentially just monitoring things. So you can see I have a list of different projects and products that I have set up and published out in the wild that are being monitored here. And I'll get an email notification if for whatever reason these websites go down. One of the things that Cronitor is really good at, as you'll see here, is monitoring cron jobs themselves on Linux servers. And that's essentially what we've set up here, is a cron job on a Linux server to clean up those images. So using the Cronitor CLI, I can actually I can use a single command here, which if you are logged into Cronitor already, your SDK key will be auto-inserted inside of the script here. But essentially, I can copy this, and then I can paste this into the server itself in order to install the Cronitor CLI and then monitor my cron jobs. So let's look at how to do this now. I'm going to go ahead and copy that script. I'm going to go back into Warp, and then I'm going to paste that in and hit enter. So now one of the cool things about having the CLI installed is I can actually run Cronitor Discover. And what this is going to do is automatically scan any cron jobs that I have registered on the machine and then register them inside of Cronitor and automatically start monitoring them. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter here. It's going to scan any cron jobs that are registered from my user account. You can see it already picked up my register cleanup. I'm just going to go ahead and accept the default name. And that's pretty much it. Now my cron job is going to be monitored, and I'll be notified if for whatever reason it goes down. And you can see I'm back in the Cronitor dashboard, and then my registry cleanup script is automatically registered. And nothing's coming in quite yet because we just configured this for the first time, and it's going to take a couple of hours before, 21 hours as you can see, before it actually kicks up and starts working. But I'm going to go ahead and hop over to a different account so you can see what this would look like in a real world scenario. This is what the dashboard would look like when monitoring cron jobs in a production environment. As you can see, Cronitor has logged over 43,000 executions of this specific script. And if I scroll down a little bit, there are a number of different metrics that you can see, such as execution time, success rate, and logs ingested. And I can hover over these charts to show the individual metric values within that time frame. If I scroll down a bit more and I click on one of these issues here, this specific alert notifies a number of different things. First off, there is an email message that is sent, there is a Slack channel that is notified, and then there's an individual user within Slack that's also notified. To show the various ways that you can be notified, we're going to go to Settings and then Integrations, and I'll click on Create Integration to pull up a list of common systems that are used to be notified of system outages, such as Slack, PagerDuty, Microsoft Teams, or you can create your own using webhooks.